All right. Welcome to the October. Man, how's it already October? Edition of Coach Office Hours. These are fun, just a way to connect with coaches and colleagues all around the world. Just before we hit record, we were having a fun conversation on weather. Texas, as always, gives us plenty to talk about in that department. And so I thought maybe as an introduction, we could add what latitude you're at in your introduction for today, so we could just and I think we're all northern hemisphere ish, so we're in the right we're in the same seasons, so to speak, if I'm remembering. Scott will have to correct us now that I know you've been a science teacher, on the different hemispheres and the different latitudes. But I remember looking up that Corpus Christi was at 27 degrees latitude, and we used that for our race. Our race bike, our endurance bike, is number 27 because we were all originally based in Corpus Christi. So that was our latitude.
I googled it, and I'm 50-degree latitude, whatever that means. So
okay,
yes,
so you're farther
north.
farther north.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna say US 50 degrees.
We had minus 1 degree Celsius yesterday in the morning. So
that's chilly.
That is chilly. So yeah. Kristen, he's beating you. Hey, Gwen.
Hello.
I'm at 52.
Okay, so you guys are close. So I was gonna look what in the US. Wow, y'all are in Canada. Dang. Okay, so y'all are north. Y'all are more north than all of the US.
Yeah.
So when we were doing introductions with what latitude are you at? So what latitude is Minneapolis?
So I'm at 30. I just had to look it up. So I have no clue.
We are all learning today. It's great. I didn't know my latitude until today. Thanks, Kendra.
So Minneapolis is 44, 45. So Gwen is closer to y'all.
And I'm at San Antonio is at 29, but I'm actually a little north of that, so I'm closer to like 30, 31, somewhere in there.
All right.
Just a smidge. I'm in the hill country technically.
All right. Well, fun stuff. So good to see everybody. Thank y'all for joining us. We changed the date because we were adding so many events, and we wanted to find a date that we felt we could stick with consistently. And Thursdays end up being good dates for programs and things. So we thought we would move office hours to Wednesdays, and felt comfortable that we could, for the most part, stick with that. So if you noticed when you registered, we actually gave the option to register for lots of months. So if you wanted to go ahead and put it on your calendar, we can do that. So, well, let's obviously there's always fun stuff to talk about. Does anybody have a topic top of mind or a question that you want to dive in on?
I just want to say that I'm really happy to be here. I've seen, in passing in the emails that there are some office hours for coaches, but I wasn't sure when it is. And so today, this morning, the European morning, I read your email, and that was perfect timing. So I'm just really happy to be here and to get to exchange with other coaches from this platform. So
thank you. Scott, what's new in your world?
Two things going on really big for me. So my final manuscript went over to the editor for my book. So that comes out in July of next year. And if any of you who have ever published a book with an actual publisher, it's insane how long it takes, but it's worth it. So
can you share the title or the topic?
Sure. It's called Inspired Living. And then the subtitle is Assembling the Puzzle of Your Call by Mastering Your Time, Your Talent, and Your Treasures. So my tagline in coaching is I help people master their time, their talent, and their treasures so that they can live out their call. If you're interested, you can find out more about it over at inspiredlivingbook.com. And there's a waiting list over there and all of that. So obviously I'll be heavy into promotion starting now that I've got a publication date. Now's when the actual marketing work starts. It's like the book is done. Okay, great. Now go market. It's not like the old days where they did all the marketing for you. Now you market your own stuff. And then the other thing is I've got a coaching conference next week. So speaking of, office hours and learning, I'm going away to Dallas for a week to teach and learn with some other coaches from another organization that I'm part of. And so I'm kind of in the frantic, get everything done, get all my client stuff to a point where I can leave them for a few days and it's not the end of the world and all of those things. Coach.me, I still usually check in with folks because it's a little easier, but some of my clients, they have phone calls and that kind of thing. We have to schedule around trips. So.
Good stuff. Congratulations on the book. That is huge.
Thank you.
That is huge.
Yeah, 3 years of work to get it to this point.
Wow.
So.
Which publisher did you go with?
Morgan James. So I'm actually going to be under Morgan James imprint. I'm working with a gentleman that works. He actually runs a ghostwriting school and does other things. He's a good friend of mine, so he's just been helping me through it, and he has a connection with them. So he pitched it to them for me, and they were like, "Absolutely, we want it." And so I'm going with Morgan James. So.
Cool.
So you have no agent?
No. Yeah, it's just.
I thought that was a regular route in the U.S.
Yeah. No, I'm not working with Nick effectively is acting as my agent, even though he's not. But I'm not paying him as an agent. He's a friend, kind of doing it on the help. So.
Very cool. Looks like they have a unique. I'd heard the name, but not dove into it. That looks like a great fit.
They're an interesting publisher. They're kind of in a niche where they do some that are religious, and then they do some nonfiction or some fiction and some nonfiction around business and leadership and those sorts of things. That tends to be, where their niche is somewhat. And then they've got a couple of divisions, but they're not a huge publishing company, but they're also not teeny tiny.
Sure,
that makes sense. They're kind of one of those in the middle,
and potentially a great fit for, dare I say, coaches of our
absolutely. In all seriousness, if you have a coach that's interested, let me know. I'll make an introduction to Nick, because that's honestly, so this is not like a secret, but just he's a ghostwriter and he can help you in that department, but he's also the CEO actually of Morgan James now.
Wow.
That this last year he owns half of it now.
I saw that article come out. I think somebody wrote about that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So David, who always was the owner before, is really good at publishing, not as great at business. And Nick is really good at business. And so it was like, and he's been working with them for years and sending him a lot of books. And they finally said, let's just make this more official that you're part of us and we're part of you. So in all seriousness, it would be an introduction that I'd be happy to make for any coach that's interested in going with a publisher. Now, self-publishing is perfectly valid. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you wanted to go with an actual publisher, I could at least get you an introduction with the people that can talk to you.
Yeah, and just scrolling through the books, there's
a lot of good.
It's a good fit. Yeah, it's a good fit. And I'd read a little bit about it, but hadn't taken the time to dive in. Thank you for.
Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to share that with anyone who's interested.
Very cool. All right, Erno, I want you shared it this morning on our stand-up, but do you mind sharing your big win for today? Because I think it's also really cool to announce it here.
It's really small.
No, it's not really small. I think it's a big deal.
It was 5 minutes work.
Well, sometimes that,
anyway,
2 years of preparation and 5 minutes of work.
Yeah, I know. So we have the Better Leaders podcast that this is called now, and Scott knows it because he was on the first episode that we called it Better Leaders, so that was good. And Anu was on the podcast too when it still was Coach Me to Lead. But since we started with the Better Humans, it's changed to Better Leaders. Also, the LinkedIn group that we have changed to Better Leaders as well, to create a community of leaders and coaches to work together. And so we had the podcast on Spotify because we first started with Anchor, and Anchor was acquired by Spotify. So now it's on Spotify. And I thought, so it's on Spotify and it doesn't have an RSS, so I cannot use it. I cannot push it to other channels. But I found out today that was not true. I could just use the RSS of Anchor that's still on the Spotify channel and push it to Apple and Google and to Amazon, and they all accept it. So it's now on the 3 major platforms next to Spotify, which is cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's a native feature in because now it used to be called Anchor and now it's called Spotify for Podcaster.
Yeah.
And I think that's a native feature that you can have it on 9 or 10 different platforms, including the one you mentioned.
Yeah, I know, but these are the biggest. When I look at the so Scott, so if you look at your podcast, where most of the downloads come from?
Well,
Which app?
most always come from iTunes.
Yeah, right.
That's number one for pretty much every podcast on the planet.
Yeah, same thing for me. Yeah.
And yeah, that's always. I mean,
yeah.
But it just like YouTube is a search engine for video content, iTunes is a search engine for audio content. It's where people tend to go. So that's definitely number one. But I've had really good luck with some of the smaller channels too. Like I think it's Ghana, which is actually publishes in India and Pakistan, and a few of the other Asia, in Indonesia and that kind of part of the world. Because believe it or not, they're really hungry for leadership content and development content. I can look up the actual name, but
yes, please.
Yeah, it's a smaller.
You can send it to me later. That's okay.
Yeah, I'll send it to you, but it's a smaller. It's a quote smaller channel, but because it's niche to that part of the world, people in that part of the world use it. If that makes sense. So
nice.
Cool. Great.
That's a good share.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
Gwen, I know you started a new program recently. I know that's a win. And potentially some others. You want to share what's going on in your world?
Yeah, I'm teaching 4 out of 5 days at 7 a.m. These days now for the next 8 weeks. So I've become a morning person all of a sudden. Or I do this every year, so it's like my season of being a morning person. But I'm teaching a 6-month, or I wouldn't call it teaching. I'm facilitating a 6-month group coaching program, primarily for technical professionals who are at the career crossroads of trying to decide if they're going into the if they want to pursue a management career or stay in technical. And we just had a meeting this morning, and it was very compelling to hear everyone's story. We're in the early stages of that group, and then I'm also teaching an 8-week course for technical professionals, a leadership program. And yeah.
So how long are your sessions? You start at 7. How long do they run?
Well, that one, the one is two hours, and then the other ones are an hour.
Okay.
So they're short.
And the format is like you present or a Q&A, or what's the format of those?
Yeah, it's virtual because I have people all over the planet, and the class is very interactive, but it's teaching. But it's there's a lot of small group stuff and discussion, large group discussion, and then the group coaching is like this morning I just did the training for them on how to ask coaching questions, and so I'm part of that's the leadership development part of it, is to get them to ask good coaching questions and not give each other advice. So it's more of a traditional action learning model, I guess.
Very cool. Well, if y'all don't have questions, I have questions. So I'm gonna keep I'm gonna keep pinging everybody. So Arnaud, I know you've evolved your coaching. What format? Like, what's the rhythm that you use for your coaching now? And you're on mute if you want to catch it. You're on mute.
Yeah, so I do group coaching now. So I have 3 groups through the week. And I still have a few one-on-ones people, but as much as possible, I try to fill the groups first and then have one-on-ones. And frankly, it's the professional highlight of my week every week. It's I put together a little system to make sure that they show up, the group coaching, and it's been working so far. So it's just pure joy. They show up, they share their wins, then we discuss their challenge together, and so I help solopreneurs, and I try and don't focus on one particular industry, because I love it when my filmmaker gets value from my psychic. I have one who's actually a psychic, card readers and things like that. And then the next day, my IT pro gets value from my English teacher because I live in the Czech Republic. And yeah, I'm super happy about that. People show up and then they talk about it in the online community. So a year ago, that was a dream of me to have a community with some activity on there. So yeah, that's the good side of what's going on in my business at the moment.
So how do you get them to show up?
Yeah.
What's your technique?
Yeah. So the secret. So first of all, because before it used to be, well, there are 3 times in the week where you can show up. It's office hours. You come when you want. And people were like, yeah, right. And they wouldn't show up at all. So first thing I did is I assigned them a day. Or I asked them to pick one of the day, and to be clear, like, okay, it's going to be your day. If you're coming on Thursday, and if you don't come on Thursday, you need to let me know in advance, and we put you elsewhere. But by default, you're coming. And also, they cannot book, because in my package, when they get the group coaching, they can book one-on-one with me on demand. And there was no restriction on that. So what people used to do was to not come to the group coaching and book me every week. So I was like, guys. So now they can only book me one-on-one if they attended the group coaching. And so that's an additional motivation for them to show up. And, yeah. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. Yeah.
Clever.
Thank you.
She said something else, a thread I wanted to pull on. What was it? Oh, the community. What are you using for the community?
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm using Go High Level.
Okay.
High Level. You guys are familiar, or I don't know?
Heard the name. Heard the name.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys know Kajabi and these kind of things that gather. So High Level is basically Kajabi plus Calendly plus Social Media Planner plus HubSpot, like everything in one. It's even more inclusive than Kajabi. And they also do the community. And so I'm not recommending High Level yet, because I've just been using it for like 3 months, still finding my way around that. There are still some things that are not working the way I would like it, but once it's going to be fully validated, I'll let the community know on the LinkedIn, because I think it's great to have all your needs in one place. Because then you can connect your socials, and if somebody sends you an email, it's being seen by High Level. If you communicate with somebody on Facebook, it's being seen, and so you have your whole history with a particular client or prospect in one place, which I think is great.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so yeah, but the community feature is really, really basic, but that's the only thing that's they don't need much really. There are a bunch of channels, and yeah, and the channels are like share your wins, ask your question, resources, get clients by refer each other, and people use it. I don't know why, but people are engaging this time. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit on LinkedIn about kind of our beta tester group and working closer with our engineering team. So one of the major features we're working on right now is our group coaching features. And right. So there's Mihai. some of you may have met him already. I think Scott was part of that beta tester group. Mihai on our team is our head of engineering, and has focus groups from time to time. And so adding the calendar feature, adding the ability to pin posts, adding those things are coming soon. We've already cleaned up he led a group, and I don't know if anybody remembers how bad when you tried to email out of our group coaching in the past. It was rough.
Mm-hmm.
There was no formatting. It was bad. And so in this process, Mihai led just a small group to kind of test things out and use that feature once. And I think within a week it was it was fixed. So it's nice when you've got an engineer that also understands coaching. It's good to have that. So I'd be curious, particularly on the community part, just to hear more about what's thriving, because that's a space that we think is really important, and that we would love for coaches to have a great resource, within their coaching membership with us, to have a great place that they can host those communities and build out those features.
Right.
So
yeah, I think friction is super important here, like removing friction, because I don't know, 2 years ago, I tried Mighty Networks, which is another platform that you can use to handle your community. And, some clients had goodwill and they joined. But then, after 2 weeks, they were like, oh, no, I don't want to log in there, and the activity would drop, And so on the other hand of the no friction spectrum, there is Facebook group. But personally, I don't want to depend on Facebook to have my community. So the way I found so far is that because it's the same login to get access to their online course and to the community and to the links that they need and to the coaching, to the recording of the group sessions, they're like, okay, I have 3 or 4 reasons to go there. So, okay, I'll register to your platform. So yeah, if it's connected, from the point of view of Coachdotme, if they have their habit tracking there, and that's where they speak to their coach, and they get to the community as well, then that would make sense.
That's where we're headed. That's where, I think we've got we're an A in some things and maybe a C or a D in some of those features, but we're to the place where we've got the engineering leadership to add that now. So great perspective.
Awesome. By the way, I just don't want to hold the mic too long, but can I just clarify one little thing real quick? Okay, because I made this post on LinkedIn about the chat, and I don't know, I wrote it maybe a little bit too fast. I didn't, and I'm French, so I'm a bit, direct. So, and then, Kendra, your reaction was amazing, but then Lydia reacted like I basically. So what I'm trying to say is that I didn't mean no disrespect by sharing this. It comes from a place of love, and I care about this platform. So when I see something that can be improved, I just write it. But just wanted to say I didn't mean no disrespect, and I know it's difficult to balance.
Well, we've had the benefit of talking face to face several times, and I'm gonna. So we tease Erno from time to time about being the most direct member of our team, and there are, I think, cultural differences in Europeans and Americans in how directly we give feedback, and I think there's also a difference when you can deliver it in person, where you can see body language and that kind of thing, versus in writing. And so I think a few things. I think not everybody has. You and I have a lot of context, same as Erno and I have a lot of context. So if Erno sends me a very pointed email, I don't receive it with the pointiness. I receive it with love. Not that he does that very often, but from time to time, he'll give very direct feedback. But I think other Americans may read those interactions from time to time and not recognize the cultural distinction, or B, not recognize that we've got that history of being more direct, and people are protective. We've been in we've been in a bunker together here for the last year, really trying to trying to get the whole organization, the community, the platform, everything kind of repaired up to par and on a trajectory that that provides a great future for coaches. And folks are passionate about that, which I love. You know, I think it's one of the best blessings that we have. So I think we're good. I think face to face, the more we can share constructive feedback, you know, face to face or in a Loom, you know, make a Loom where people can hear your, even just the tone of voice makes it really clear when you're saying something with love versus with, you know, with pointing.
Yeah.
So, and I try to do that in all of my projects, you know, be really careful not to send just a text or an email if I'm offering that kind of feedback. You know, I think the Loom is probably what I'm attempting to make my default for sharing feedback. So
love it. Yeah.
No, it's good. I love your engagement. You know, I think in that LinkedIn group, there's all kinds of folks that are in our close circle, folks that are a little farther out, and then folks that barely know us. And so not everybody knows how to interpret our kitchen table conversations. So, Erno, anything you'd add there as a fellow direct friend?
Direct European with the name finishing with no.
No, not really. I think it's always tricky to know when it is your default culture, when to use different words or when to connect and have a conversation instead of just sending a message or an email. But I've learned, I think most of the clients that I work with have learned and appreciated how I communicate, because they want that support. They want accountability. They really want to continue with the work, right? So, and other than that, in the team that we have, I think most people got used to my way of communicating, that which is not necessarily a good thing. But also, I think if I do it right, it is clear and concise. So no detours in my way of communicating. And I think that is also helpful. So that sometimes you can save a lot of time and energy, just give directly what you need and to go there, where I think what both of you need in that conversation.
I think it's a great learning. You know, I like the feed. We can't always do everything, but I love the question, you know, of are you at least thinking about this? So I think it's helpful. And I think we can all learn from it. We can keep these more steady. We could even have maybe a product. If we get enough interest in this, we could kind of have a product or a platform version of this where we just focus on kind of deep dives into a certain aspect of the platform, you know, once a month or once a quarter, where I think that could be valuable. We haven't had, frankly, until Mihai and until he really got embedded and we got our infrastructure, you know, just, I'm going to go technical for a second, but the version of Ruby that we were using needed to be updated, you know, like 8 different versions. So there was a lot of work in just getting, if you're thinking of it like a house, just getting our foundation solid. We had to get all that done before you could start building out fancy features and put in fancy faucets and do those things. And I think we're very close. The other thing we're working on now, if you talk to Mihai, you'll be testing, building in tests so that when we update a feature, we don't accidentally break things that are working by building in a feature. And so he's really working on building automated tests that let us release and automatically test everything, right, so we know we don't break. And I'm going to call on Kristen for a second because I want to spend a few minutes talking about the things that we know are broken and what we're doing to triage those in the meantime till we get them fixed. Kristen is our support extraordinaire, so she is on top of everywhere that we're currently not hitting on all cylinders. But we couldn't. It didn't really make sense to have the dream conversations about features until we got the foundation of our house strong and our team strong. You know, and I think we're very close to there. Maybe you're never there because things always change, but we're as healthy as we've been in a very long time in terms of the back end side and having a team in place with all the core roles that need us to be healthy into the long term. So I know we've asked for patience for a long time from you and others, but it's you know, it's a tricky time, and a lot of coaching businesses have not, a lot of platforms have not rounded the corner, you know, in terms of being able to manage costs in a way that lets you even continue the fight, you know, kind of a thing. So hopefully that context is a little helpful too. All right, so Kristen, I know there's a couple areas and we've got to regroup on the exact fixes, but let's run down a few. The biggie is, would you say that the top one is the phone call thing?
Yeah, definitely. The credit card payment for phone calls, and then the joining and adding groups.
Let's talk about both of those. So right now, if a client buys phone calls from you, it does clear Stripe. So it does, the transaction does process, but for some reason it doesn't show up in your coaching dashboard. And so we've got to manually manage those. So we're going to build a process where we're reviewing Stripe, we're finding those transactions, and Kristen will be notifying the coach manually that the client has bought a bundle of phone calls. And then instead of ticking them off, which you do now, you would just email Kristen to let her know as you complete those phone calls. And Mihai's actively working on it. But until we get that resolved, we'll need to manage that more manually. And if a coach has a concern, email us at support and we'll look into it. We know of one coach that sells a lot of phone call packages that we're monitoring very closely. What was the other one, Kristen? The join?
Adding a new goal or joining a goal.
Oh, yeah.
The habit.
Yeah, so there's and this has been a glitch, and we solved pieces of it, but haven't fully solved it. So if you create a new habit, sometimes it gives you problems with joining it, which is a little bit of a head scratcher, but we're working through. I think we've found workarounds for most of those, but know that we're actively working bugs. And we've eliminated a lot. We created a lot when we made some improvements, but we've eliminated most of those. So it's a fun game. I think Kristen has developed a whole new vocabulary in IT or engineering sprints, right? Good stuff. All right. Well, what else is top of mind for y'all?
I have something, but I'll leave space for others.
Well, go for it. We've got a few minutes. Nobody else is jumping in.
Right. So for me, and I guess it falls into the category feature requests, but maybe it already exists. For me, the big thing I would love from the platform is a little bit more analytics, a little bit more data on what's going on. Because right now it's really in the dark. For example, now it's October. In September, out of nowhere, I have 5 clients who hired me. And I'm like, whoa, awesome. But I don't really know why, because I had changed my messaging, but like 3 months before. So I was a bit surprised. So I would love to have some data on this is the amount of people who visited your page. They arrived to your page through these habits. Like 25 people saw these habits, 10 people saw these habits. Out of 25 once, and I would love to have this kind of data so that I can then make some data-driven decision on how I optimize my profile and the packages. Because my instinct would be to go and have a beautiful homepage with all my packages that fit nicely together, but maybe nobody scrolls it like that. Maybe people discover me when they go to coach.me/coaching, and so I would love to have a little bit more clarity and analytics on that.
I like it. And Mihai, that's on our list. I'll tell you, I would say we've got a little bit of bugs that we're working on. We've got a 3rd tier coaching package that we're coming out with that provides lots more support and coaching coaches, if you will, discounts on our programs, unlimited discount codes, and we'll be the first one that gets these analytics that you're talking about. So that coaching membership, we're testing it now. So we're probably a month-ish away from releasing that and all that comes with that. We're gearing towards the first of the year as when we'd like to have a lot of this in place. So that's near the top of the list. The group coaching upgrades are in progress and near the top of the list. And then I think analytics, both sides, both giving clients analytics, like the year in review kind of a thing. Like you mentioned Spotify, like you get from Spotify, you've listened to this, you've done this. So being able to do the year in review and the analytic, they kind of go together. If you can deliver one, you can deliver the other. Mm-hmm. But being able to deliver more analytics to coaches. I think there's a slim shot we get it done before the end of the year, but more realistically, I think it's probably a first quarter 2024 project. But agree, it's getting the discount codes customizable so that coaches can offer different discount codes. So if Scott was on our podcast, the Better Leaders podcast, and he offered a discount code, Better Leaders or BL 15 for 15% off his packages, then he would know that anybody that used that discount code where they came from.
Makes sense.
And just being able, if you're doing public speaking or speaking at events, that's where that gets to be really valuable, to be able to customize that and share to that audience, create a custom landing page, share to that audience, and really have a nice call to action for that. Not the only use, but one of the uses. If you're going on podcasts or you have your own podcast or you're speaking, now that you're doing live or virtual events. So discount codes were a big, and for our own marketing, for us to be able to ramp up marketing in the way that we wanted, we needed better features on discount codes. And that's probably about 80% implemented. If you go test it out now at both the community and the pro level, there's some functionality of that, and then the 3rd tier will offer significant functionality for that, as well as coming soon the analytics that you're talking about.
Great news. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're thinking the same direction of what's the toolkit we need to be a place where coaches can have one toolbox that has the majority of the tools that you need to build and deliver your coaching. Good stuff. Well, Scott, we've got a few minutes. Anything you want to add or put on the table for discussion?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
Well, for sure, when your book is closer to the due date, we will do another podcast episode.
Absolutely. I'd be honored. It was fun. I would encourage anyone who hasn't been on to talk to you too, because you do a good job. You're a good host. So
thank you.
Fun. And now you can find us on all the major platforms. So as the Better Leaders podcast. There you go. Thank you for setting that up. All right.
And there's nothing wrong with making it easier to find. That always helps.
Yeah.
Period.
Agree.
All right. Well, thank y'all for being here. This was a fun conversation. I feel like we each got a lot of threads to pull on and go explore. So really useful segment of time. And I think anybody watching this will appreciate those nuggets too. And I think this will be our recurring time, barring anything crazy. I think we're locked in on this as a time. And so you can register and go ahead and get it on your calendar, third Wednesday of that. If you're interested in Better Humans, they're having office hours the fourth Wednesday. Lydia will host that because it is a great platform if as a coach you want to do writing as a way to market your coaching business. Better Humans is a great way to do that. Mihai also is the lead editor of Better Programming. So if any coaches have an audience that tends to be programmers, he's going to have office hours as well. You can connect with him on that. And we've got several more live events in our hopper that I think we're close to announcing. Some leadership events, some more I would say resilience seems to be a theme that we're really equipped to speak on, for better or worse, and that folks are interested in. So both leadership and resilience, and then obviously as we roll into the new year, those kinds of things. So stay tuned on the Tuesday newsletter. If you're watching this but not getting our Tuesday newsletter, ping us at support, and we'll get you added to that list, our Tuesday coaches newsletter that keeps you updated with really all of the things going on from a coach perspective in that. So be sure you're connected because I think we're committed to being a good home, and I'll use Scott's word, being a good steward, for coaches' time and energy, and being a place where that you have fun, we make good connections, and we do give you the tools to grow your business. All right. We'll see y'all next time.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.